Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's old Pappy back with another one. Thanks for tuning in. And today we're going to go into a time warp. That's right. We're going to try out some of the old school weapons that were around back when I first started the game. Now, obviously, I started the game back in 2014, in the fall of 2014. Really kind of figured out the game around Christmas time is when I really got into it and, kind of took off right from there. And so what we're going to be looking at is some of these weapons that used to rule the battlefield, and a lot of them are ballistics weapons. And so we have Punishers, we have Molots, we have the Nashorn cannon weapon, we have Tempest, which came a little bit later, but still was kind of the same family of ballistics. And I really just want to see if they are usable in today's meta. And so right off the bat, I got myself an old friend from yesteryear here. We got the Fury. It carries 3 heavy weapons, and this Nashorn has, it's kind of had a bit of a tortured route to getting to where it is today, because it has about 1,100 meter range, and it has 9-second reload now. And so, there were all these things that were done at the very beginning of the game back in 2014 to try to make it viable. Most people actually liked to use the Kang Day, which had a longer reload but did more damage. And people liked using Nashorn, I suppose, is because it had a faster reload but did a little bit less damage. Well, a few years ago, Pixo did a major rebalance of all the ballistics weapons, and basically this is where they are today. This weapon has 1,100 meter range. It has 9-second reload. Kang Days now have, I think, 800 meter range, but they only have 5-second reload. I think it's 5. So anyway, the point is that the Kangs fire faster but do less damage. These Nashorns do more damage when they hit. Both weapons actually do increased damage against physical shields, and of course that became a big deal when they introduced all of the Knights of Camelot robots, the Lancelot, the Galahad, and the Gareth, because at that point so many guys were running around with hard shields and dominating back in the Ancelot days, where you would put an Ansel shield on the top and run around maybe with 2 Terrans and just absolutely annihilate the enemy. Well, Pixo changed the dynamics of the shells, so they did more damage against the shielded robots as a way to kind of buff the weapon and nerf the shielded bots a little bit. So, the question is it useful now? And so you're seeing here on the screen that, look at that, I just took out in one shot, I just took out probably a little bit less than half of someone's health. Not bad. But the catch, of course, with all of these types of styles of weapons is the damn reload. 9 seconds in the current meta. In an age where some weapons, like the atomizer style weapons, fire constantly with no reload. Lots of other ones reload while they're firing, so you can constantly be laying down a bed of fire. These weapons, these outdated weapons where you fire and then you sit around and you basically take out your knit and then you knit for 9 seconds until you can shoot again, are really problems if you want to try, say, to protect yourself if someone starts to rush towards you. And so let's see what happens here. We're going to get right in here. I've been doing a little bit of damage, shaving off a little health here and there. Now that's a good example. You just saw what happened there. I tried to hit the guy. He stepped just out of the line of fire, and boom, it's basically like all 3 of my shots are wasted. Right? And I think that's part of the frustration that I have with using these style of weapons, is that they do pretty good damage from a distance, but that idea that all you need to do is sidestep it just a hair, and then you've wasted you wasted your shot and you got 9 seconds to wait. That is just killer. And then another problem with this type of weapon, take a look at this. So here we got an Ojun has just landed right into our spawn, and he's already knocked off 2 of my weapons. I'm going to be dead here in a second, but there's no chance I have somebody in a Nightingale above me was trying to help out, but I really had no chance. So again, one of the problems is the minute that people close distance on you, you are screwed. So, would I recommend Nashorn? Well, if you just want to, do the time warp, sure, it's kind of fun. But that 9-second reload is killer. I mean, if it was 5 seconds, that would be a different story. But let's bounce back in now. So we're in an Aries. This is the Call of Cthulhu style Aries we have here, the Halloween version from a few years ago. And Sinister Aries, I think it's called. And right now I'm using the Punishers. Now, Punishers, again, going back to 2014, there was a time, believe it or not, when Punishers ruled the day. They were absolutely unstoppable. And in fact, guys would run around with Rogatkas or with Griffins, with all Punishers. And probably 2014, 2015-ish, they literally could just, like a buzzsaw, they just annihilate you. And they, just before they brought the Terran in, they did probably one of the biggest nerf jobs ever in the history, the 6-year history of the game. And that is on one specific day, with one specific update, they nerfed machine guns, both Molots and Punisher families, by 70% damage. Can you imagine? Let's just make this up. Let's just say that every bullet did 100 damage. Let's just for math. Hey, let's do some math. For mathematics' sake, overnight, it went from 100 damage per bullet to 30 damage per bullet. Now, the actual reality of it was, I think it was like 700 and some maybe per bullet or whatever, and the spread was changed and all that stuff. But the bottom line was it got a 70% damage reduction. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if some of your favorite weapons suddenly you woke up and one day they were 70% less effective than they were before? I mean, it was just overnight, entire hangars were destroyed. And so, and ever since then, they've sort of struggled to find the balance. And of course, there's new weapons out there that take the place of the old. I get it. This is not a condemnation. Don't get me wrong. I'm not condemning anybody for doing this. But it really, it had an impact. Anyway, let's take a little step back while we start a new game. So I won that game. How did I do for damage? 1.5 million. Yeah, it was okay. Not great, but I was actually kind of impressed with the machine gun's ability paired with the Aries and its shield to really take on Titans, right? And that might be a nice niche role for your Aries and with machine guns, is if you can kind of use your shield to be cautious and go right toe to toe against these giant Titans, but get the hell out of Dodge as fast as you can as soon as they start to shoot you, and use your shield as a weapon, as an offensive weapon, more so than just a defensive protection. You can really cause some damage. Now, moving on, we have another Aries here. And again, I'm trying to use my special ability more as an offensive ability rather than a defensive ability. And why am I doing that? Well, I'm doing it to try to compensate again for the fact that these Molots, which I have on now, which are a longer range version of a machine gun, they really leave you high and dry while they're reloading. So you got to remember, Punishers are 500 meter range, but obviously the closer you get to like 250, that's when they really start cooking in terms of damage. Well, these Molots have an 800 meter range, but again, the sweet spot is around 500 to 600 meters. But again, just like the Punishers, years back, they got nerfed. And so while they do more damage to shielded robots, with hard shields, I should say, they actually got a severe nerf to not only the amount of damage they do, but the amount of bullets in your clip. And so you're really going to notice here with this Aries is that just when I finally start revving up and my, these types of weapons, it takes a couple seconds, 1 or 2 Mississippis before they kick into overdrive and then they fire faster. By the time I start firing faster, I'm basically running out of bullets, and then bang, you're back to reloading again. It's not like Punisher, where you have way more bullets and you can fire for longer. And look at this. Just look what happens as a scorpion dives in behind me here, and he kills me. Why? Because I have 10-second reload, and I was basically helpless. So again, would I recommend using Molots? Now, this is a bad map for it. And you're going to see it again here. I'm going to use a Fenrir. I have a Trident, which again was a once upon a time in 2016, I think, was super powerful, had a really wide splash damage area. You could run 3 on a Fury. It reloads while it fires, and so you really could use it as an offensive weapon. It's 600 meter range, and it was devastating, and so it got nerfed. And so now I look at that lag. Geez, we've got to get rid of this lag too in the game. But anyway, so the problem with, in a nutshell, the problem with Tridents right now is that the splash damage area has been reduced so greatly that unless you hit someone square on between the crosshairs, most times you're barely going to do any damage. Whereas before, you used to really be able to corner shoot. Look at that little bugger, that scorpion coming back again. Gosh darn you. Anyway, I'll let one of my teammates worry about him. But again, the trident weapon shoots a shell that is so slow that people can dodge it easily, and the splash damage has been reduced so badly that if you don't hit someone square on, you don't cause any damage. And so again, it's one of those weapons where I'm really having trouble recommending it as a viable weapon in 2020. And I know some of you watching this, you're probably thinking, yeah, no blank Sherlock, of course it's not viable. I know that, but I kind of thought, if you have the weapons in your hangar, why not take them out? Why not have some fun once in a while and see how they go? But again, this is really a bad pairing. I have the two Molots, which again, 800 meter range, but need to reload really, for a long time. And I have this darn trident, which really does not work very well at all. And so, just so we can kind of get to my final bot that I want to show you, I'm going to speed up the game a little bit here. It's going to look a little funny. We're going to keep attacking here, but I'm going to be able to end this video off, I think, with using my Tempests on a Behemoth, and that gives you 4 weapons. Obviously, when you engage your 2 extra weapons, you get locked in place. But we're going to finish off here with a little bit of sped up play, just finish off this. There's probably about another minute or so of footage before we get to the final version. So what would this be good for? Well, if you're going to use this, then you want to use the Fenrir's shield to really protect you. If you don't have a Fenrir, I'm sure some of you do. If you engage the shield, the middle weapon becomes inactive, but you can actually move faster as well. So what I'm trying to do is bob and weave. I'm just popping out from behind cover here. I'm hitting that guy. You can see I'm doing damage to his shield and to him specifically because I'm hitting right in the middle of the crosshairs. And I guess theoretically, if I can ever get these damn Molots to start firing, which I'm doing now, they will do more damage to, for instance, to an Arthur's shield. But you see the basic end result of what happened there, right? It really is not an effective build. There's lots of other better Fenrir builds out there. So anyway, let's come back in here with our Tempest. Again, for 800 meter range, it's basically the heavy version of the Molots. It can wield out a lot of punishment. Now, these aren't MK2. These are just maxed level 12 and level 11, I think. It can do a lot of damage. But as I've often said, I just really wish that the Behemoth was given the same style of ability that the Jaeger has now, which is that it can move when it's engaging its special ability, which of course is its extra 2 weapons. When you need to get locked into place in order to use your extra weapons, you really become a sitting duck. Anyway, this game's almost over. You're going to see me basically get my snot kicked out here. And again, I'm not a big fan of these weapons. Maybe if they were MK2 and we were on a wide open map like Springfield, maybe that would make a difference. I'm not really finding them to be that great. They might be good for something like this, hitting a Titan from across the map. But look at that. I just got hit by a Nodens. I'm suppressed, and I'm going to die probably in a couple seconds. But my final thoughts are, with all these weapons, is that sadly they're kind of all into the dustbin of history. If you have them in your hangar, you might want to bring them out once in a while just for fun, but certainly they've all been replaced by the atomizers and my gosh, the cryo weapons. All these brawling weapons, basically scourges, everything else, have sadly made the ballistics family pretty much out of date, except for maybe the Punishers, and even then the reload really kills you with that 10-second reload. So anyway, hopefully that was kind of a fun walk down memory lane, and for those old school guys like me still out there, it's a little bit of nostalgia. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Hit me up in your comments what your favorite old school setup is, and any tips for running these old weapons. And, hit the like, the share, the subscribe if you want. I appreciate the support. And until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield.